Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to this video about CSS basics. This video we will learn how to add CSS files to our HTML, and this is actually called a style sheet. And we will then learn how to target those HTML tags in CSS and style them. So giving them colors, or well, you will see that in a couple of minutes from now. And we will also be learning how to use the class selector. So to get started, I'm going to make a new directory, CSS, and I will change my directory. And in the previous videos, I showed you code dot, but you can also do code dash r dot, which will reload the new folder in the same window, you could say. All right, so we are right now in CSS. We will make an HTML file, so you probably know how to do this by now. We'll say index.html, and we will just put our standard piece of boilerplate code in there. And let's just do a p tag right here and say I want this text to be red. We're going to open it in live server, at least with live server. Yes, there we go. Okay, so now we are going to make a CSS file simply by calling it style.css. And now we have to import this file into our index.html file. And we can do that right here below title. We can say link, and we can then say style.css. Save it. Now, if we want to target this p tag, we can simply go here, say p, curly brackets, and we can say color red. Save it. And boom, there we go. Pretty easy. Now, there's a lot of, this is what you would call a CSS property, and there's many more out there. We could, for example, set the font size to 20 pixels, for example, and see, and let's do the font weight to bold. Well, there you go. You can change a lot of things. So let's take another example and let's make a button, and let's say click here, just like that. And now we can also target that button by simply going to our CSS file, typing button, and then we could say background color blue. And you will see it will change the background color. Now we can also change the text in this button. So we can do color, white, font weight, bold, for example. There we go. Now we can give this button a little bit more of a modern look. So let's say border none. So that will remove the border. And we could give it, for example, some padding. Let's do 1em, 2em. And later in the upcoming videos, you will learn about what these em units actually are and why I'm using them. But now you see our button has a little bit of what you would call padding. And well, let's make it some border, give it some border radius, 5 pixels. Maybe a little more, 10, boom. So let's say we want to increase the distance between this p tag, this p element, and this button. Then we can give the button some margin top, or we can give the p tag, we can give it some margin bottom. So I will go for margin top. And let's say we say 5M. Now you see the distance between these two items has increased. And if I go down and I use my DevTools and select button, you'll already see right here the orange spot, and that's the margin in pixels. So you can see if I hover over it, this is the pixel, these are the pixel dimensions of the content of the button itself. So the text, this is the padding, the border, we set it to none, so there's no border. And then here we have the margin, and it only has a margin top. And if you scroll up right here, you will see that like all the properties we defined right here, you can find them also back into your DevTools, and DevTools is really nice because we can change things. But of course, if we reload the page, it goes back to how we put it in our code. So let's say I want to have another button, which I have right now, but I want to make this red. Now we have a problem because all our buttons will be blue. And that's why I always recommend you to use the class selector, which is simply saying class. And here we can say blue button. And maybe you're wondering why I'm writing this with a capitalized letter. This is very common in front-end development, and especially in JavaScript. So you will see this a lot, but you have to get used to it. So always you start the first word with a like a small letter, and your second word will be capitalized. So let's copy this and let's make this a red button. Now the buttons are still blue, but that makes sense because we still have the button selected. But now we could say blue button, and we can copy all this content right here, and we can copy this, and we can say red button, and I have to change this to red, of course. Now I save it, and you see the button colors have changed as well. But do note that if I remove this code and save it, it's still blue again. So the class selector does overwrite the plain button target in CSS. So we can remove that for now because we don't need it anymore. And yeah, that's how we solve the color problem. So the main takeaway from this video is that you should use class selectors. So I see you in the next one.